Welcome to another edition of Navigating Your Unretired Life. This is a conversation about Carol Orsborn's new book, Spiritual Aging Weekly Reflections for Embracing Life. Unretiree and author Carol Orsborn, Ph.D., is an author of 36 other books and has served as a consultant to major firms and continues to live her spiritual aging. She now lives to share her weekly reflections for embracing life in her latest book that will be out soon. An unretiree, Harry R. Moody, Ph.D., is Carol's long-term friend and colleague in the study of aging and wrote the book's foreword. Rick has served as a former VP of Academic Affairs at the American Association of Retired Professionals, AARP, for 10 years, and he's celebrating the 10th edition of his highly acclaimed gerontology textbook. Among other amazing initiatives we'll talk about soon. But without further ado, here's the conversation.
But I want to talk to Carol, and I've read this book. Obviously, I wrote the foreword. It's called Spiritual Aging, but why did you write it? What led you to write yet another book?
Good question. It's the book I've wanted for myself and couldn't find. What I wanted, and I know this is a genre that's really exploded, so it's kind of unbelievable to me that there's nobody that already did this. I would have preferred to buy it and read their version, but what it is, it's weekly readings. I wanted a book sort of like Al-Anon's One Day at a Time or something like that, where you just get right to the point, week by week. You open the page, and over a year's period, you have actually 56 because I do 5-day weeks, 5-week months. And so I kind of felt that by doing 2 years of weekly readings, I could cover all the topics I wanted to. And I believe in Jung's synchronicity. So I believed that if I was writing about jealousy one week, that a lot of my people are either going to be identifying that they're also feeling envious of somebody, or they're going to feel like, wow, I got that one handled. I feel good. So I cover all the bases.
Let's talk about Carol. You're not young anymore. I don't say that because you look young. You do look young, but
Thank you.
You and I are both elders. So my question is, what are you writing about now that you know that's different than 10 years ago? Because you wrote about this 10 years ago when I first met you.
Yeah, well, we were young. I think it was 20 years ago, Rick.
Yep, yep.
And when we met, I was one of the people that was helping advertising agencies market to boomers. So my message 20 years ago was, what 50 is the new 35. And, you don't have to grow old, use these products. So,
You were telling people what they wanted to hear, huh?
well, I believed it at the time.
Yeah.
But what happened was my own life experience diverged farther and farther from the line. And you still see the line out there. That's what ageism is. It's like, you don't want to grow old, don't bother, just stay in midlife forever. And here's all the things you can buy to never grow old.
Aging is an option.
Yes, it's optional, right? Except for me. And it wasn't optional for me. I started having the aches and pains and issues and challenges. And I had a late career doctorate, and all the people that were in their 30s were getting interviews and jobs. And I was the dean's favorite student and the best grades. And I was turning 50 at the time, and nobody would interview me anywhere for anything. And I'm kind of a prodigy because I also had breast cancer very young. So, issues of mortality and the kinds of things that people who tend to be older, as a leading edge boomer who was facing mortality in my late 40s and into my 50s, I got sort of a head start on realizing that, no, I'm not going to be young forever. I've got to go deeper, which is it's my personality and my inclination anyway.
Life gave you a message. But here's my question about your book. This is a book which theory you're supposed to look at maybe every week. Does that mean that we only need to be spiritual once a week, kind of like going to church or something?
Uh, I here's the thing.
Yeah,
I believe that aging is a spiritual experience.
right.
I think that every minute of every day, if you don't want to be morose and feel beaten down, which are part of the package, by the way,
Right.
but if you don't want to get stuck in the dark stuff, then you have to completely change your perspective. And I'm probably challenged 30 or 40 times a day where I have to say the Serenity Prayer. I'm 76 now, and my best friend, one of the people that gives a quote for the book, and she just joined my online group,
Hmm.
just suddenly passed, that kind of thing. You don't know where it's coming from at our age, and
Yes.
you don't want to be a beginner at 76. You really don't. You want to have, unless you are. If you are, jump on board fast because you've got another 30 years. But for me, I am really, really glad that I had breast cancer so young because I'm kind of I'm experiencing aging honestly as an adventure. And when things come my way, I don't necessarily love them. But like Ishi, the North American Indian, I've learned to be more curious than afraid.
My question to you is, you wrote a book with Bob Weber, a mutual friend of ours, on spirituality and aging. Does that have it all in it, and you're now giving the Reader's Digest version, or have you changed since then?
Oh, the books are very different. First
How
of
are
all,
they
that
different?
was that 15 years ago? When was 2015? Oh, 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. How are
Yeah.
they different?
Well, that was sort of a Bob and I were just finding our way, and we are finding our way together. Uh,
Hmm.
we met at an American Society of Aging conference, and afterwards we got talking. You were there too, I know.
I was.
And we were challenging each other. It sounds like we're going to get to this question anyway. The question that got us talking, we talked probably for about a couple of hours just on a stairwell between meetings,
Yeah,
was I'm feeling the desire to withdraw and develop myself spiritually, and I think it's going to take a contemplative lifestyle and time
right.
versus the feeling that I'm at the peak of my abilities and I have so much wisdom. Don't I owe it to the world to step forward and give it my all? We had that kind of conflict going on, but we didn't have any answers really. So the book is a dialogue between, a former Jesuit, a man, and
That's right.
myself. I'm, of Jewish background, but I'm really a sort of a new age eclectic kind of person, and a woman, and we just challenged and tested each other. So
So you want to keep the duality, male, female, Jewish, Christian, light,
everything,
dark,
yeah,
everything.
everything you could possibly imagine. But now, 10 years later, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's why I got my doctorate in the first place. I wanted to find the edge of human knowledge. And I did that in academia. I found out what we know and what we don't know.
Yep.
And then by really concentrating on this field, I edited it, as you know, Fierce with Age archives. So I've read every book. I kept up with the literature.
Yes, you have.
I once again got to the edge of human knowledge, and I realized, hey, there's there's no right way to age. Nobody's going to tell me. And so I'd say this book came out of a couple of years ago. My last two or three books have really been, oh, wait a minute, here's the answer for me, especially since COVID. When those years when we were stuck indoors with COVID and I
Right.
really went deep, I realized, wait, I'm not a seeker anymore. I'm not a seeker. I know who I am. I know what I believe, and I'm going to put it out there. But I'm going to put it out there in such a way as to challenge other people to see what their beliefs are. You
I
know,
love what you're saying because, on the one hand, you're saying it's different for each person. Everybody's aging is different, just like everybody's
right.
marriage is different. But you're also saying something universal, which has to do with this ability to be confident in your own inner reality.
Right. I'm trying to push people to take a stand for themselves.
Take a stand for themselves. I love that
Yeah.
phrase too.
Yeah.
That's
And I'm
wonderful.
telling you, Rick, and Art, I know you know what I'm going to say next. There are so many people's opinions on what we have to do to be successful. what does it mean to be a successful aging person? And I basically see a lot of older people beating themselves up because they don't think they're doing it the way they're supposed to.
So
Yeah, I
successful
agree with you.
aging, even as a category, could be a sort of a trap because we might fail, kind of
Oh
like
yeah, and then
retirement.
we're comparing each other, and am I spiritual enough? Am I contemplative enough?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
I
wondering about. I know you got this from within because we've talked about that, and you say that very clearly in the book. But I'm wondering about the people who inspired you. I'm thinking about people like Lars Tornstam and Zalman Schachter, Viktor Frankl. But above all, I think about Florida Scott Maxwell. And I know you're a passionate admirer of Florida Scott Maxwell too.
Yeah. Oh man, her book. I'm not kidding when I tell you this. It literally fell off of a used bookstore shelf into my hands at a time. I guess that was about 10 years ago as well. As I say, about 10 years ago, I was really seeking hard for answers, and
Hmm.
I wasn't finding it in the literature. I felt like you either had books that were ageist, that, were telling you how to how to deal with your depression,
Right.
and
Self-help
and
books.
right, but we also had a lot of romanticizing books, that romanticized aging, all the take the vitamin 12 and B12 and then climb the mountain type books. What I love about Florida Scott Maxwell is that she told the truth. She said, I'm screaming in my sleep. This is so hard. But I'm passionate and alive, and I would rather have the whole experience of what it means to be human than to squash or oppress any part of it in order to fit into any kind of a norm. So you picked the right person for me to.
What you've said about yourself and about the book is exactly the right thing. And we're nearing the end
Thanks.
of our time. I wondered if you have anything else to add to this, because I feel that what you've done is sort of add to what people have within but don't recognize yet.
Well, there's a very subtle thing. I'm going to tell you a secret about this book. There's one other thing about the book, which I didn't know if I was going to say out loud, but I have
Good.
to
Say
because
it
it's
out
you.
loud.
This book is written as if you already know these things.
I love that.
See, I think our generation, we're tired of being talked down to. And
Yeah.
that's what I don't like about most of the books out there. It's the expert telling the newbie, here's what it is, here's how you need to do it,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, I know you know this already, so please forgive me, and maybe this isn't your day to hear this. If so, just shut the book and go, whatever. It's a deeply respectful book
I
because,
agree with you. I
you
agree
know,
with you
I,
completely.
I cannot speak in front of an audience of 60 or 70 or God forbid 80 or 90 years old and think that I have anything to teach them.
Yeah, but you do. And I greatly appreciate your being with us here today. As I say, we're nearing the end of our time, but Art Johnson, I don't know if you have a final comment to make on what
Well,
we've
I
been
was going
saying
to
today.
say that what the common thread of both of what you were talking is this inner voice that I think a book like yours, Carol, is to help people listen to that. There's a
Yeah.
knowledge that we all have, but it's not affirmed sometimes. We'll push it back. We'll limit ourselves and try to fit into this externally driven idea of age. And I think that I've learned just by listening to it and just letting it direct me in ways that are logical and emotional and feel good and
Yep.
all that is the way to go. And no one can do that but yourself. But you are an example of someone who's gone through these changes. I know Rick has. We've talked, and it's this inner life that people, an inner voice that needs to be listened to. It's sometimes
Yeah,
very quiet.
if I might say, I truly believe this is the evolutionary purpose of aging. I think
Right.
it's why we age. You have to
It's not
get
an
past,
accident.
yeah, you have to get past the powerful feelings you had when you were younger, that you can fix it, change it, manipulate
Improve
it,
it.
outsmart it, outrun it.
Yeah.
eat enough tofu, you have to get all that nonsense, and it takes a whole lifetime until you really, really start to get to live in the present moment. And it's that, it's getting everybody, all the other voices and images out of your mind so that you finally figure out who you are and have the passion and the joy of living and the sorrow, I mean, just being real with yourself, whatever it is.
Carol is what she has called herself, an old soul. And I am
Nice.
grateful that she has been with us here today. Thank you. And thank you,
This is
Art.
great. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for keeping it short and sweet. There we go.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.